based out of, by the way.
Great experiences build great leaders. Great leaders build great teams. This is Building Great Sales Teams.
All right, guys, welcome back to Building Great Sales Teams. I've got a special guest for us today, Justin Shoemaker. He's the CEO of Clearwave Water and Shoemaker Syndicate. He's an expert in sales and leadership, but also, interesting enough, he's an expert in executive production, law enforcement, and anti-terrorism. Justin,
Yeah, what's up, man?
welcome to the show, brother. How you doing?
Brother, I'm happy to be on, man. Good to connect with you finally. I know we were trying to do this a while back, but part
Yeah,
of being in a startup, the schedule is crazy. So I'm glad we were finally able to sit down for a little bit and talk.
absolutely. So you said startup. Are you in your first year, or how far into your water
Yeah.
treatment business are you?
Yeah. I mean, I technically not even a full year yet. We launched, I made the business back in January, February while still selling for a solar company.
Mhm.
And before I made my exit, and then we officially started selling in April. So April was technically the first year of actual operations.
Okay.
February would be technically 1 year in business. So not quite
Okay,
into a year
fantastic.
yet, but yeah.
Awesome. So you said you went from solar to water treatment. What inspired you to make that move? Why'd you even start the water treatment company while you were selling solar? I mean, that's a
Well,
full-time position in itself, right?
yeah. Well, I started in water actually. So when I got out of the Navy,
Okay.
I was working with NCIS doing executive protection at the Pentagon, and I got out right during COVID. So that no one was hiring. And a buddy of mine was in water treatment. And he's like, "Hey, man, I know you're looking for work while you wait for the government to open up." And because that was my whole plan, I was just going to go back to the federal government. Um, he's like, "Hey, dude, just do this for a little bit. Like, it's pretty cool. I know you're into fitness and health. Like, this is right up your alley." So I went and worked at a water treatment company called Orbit. And within my second month, I made $25,000 of like commission. And I was like, well, I'm not, this is amazing. Like, I was like, this is awesome. Like, I
What
remember
was
I
your
texted,
best month in the military before that?
what's that?
What was your best month in the military before that?
I don't know. Like, you make 29.80 every 2 weeks. So what is that? 5 grand a month. Yeah. I remember that month I made 12K in 1 week. And I remember texting my manager at the time. I was like, is this legal what we're doing? Like, this doesn't seem right.
This feels like we're selling drugs.
It was crazy. And I was 20, let's see, I'm 31 now. I was probably 27 at that point, somewhere around there, 26, 27. And I almost felt so pissed at myself that I never discovered sales beforehand. I mean, I've always looked at sales. I think how most people look at sales is like, oh, it's for people that have nothing else to do. It's dumb people education. It's like
Right.
you had to do it, which to be fair, a lot of people look at the military the same way. So
Yeah, yeah. It's universal there.
yeah. So I just was flabbergasted by the amount of money that could be made. And I didn't realize that my performance wasn't normal for the industry at that time. I just thought that was what everybody was doing, but apparently I was the top guy on the entire nation at that point for those sales numbers, which
Well,
ended up getting me.
if I could pause you for a second, I talk about this a lot on my show. Like
Yeah.
the special operators, high level military guys that come from the military, and I talked about this Robert Frederick. So he was
Mhm.
a Navy swift boat operator, right?
Oh, nice.
And he was just talking, and he was saying the same thing. It's like, I'm crushing it in my business, and he's in business development for a software
Right.
company. And he's like, to me, it's just what we do. They
Right.
gave me the metrics to hit every day. I went out and
Yep.
hit those metrics. You know what I mean? And now I'm number one. But like they're all asking, all the salespeople under me are asking, what's my secret sauce and what's so special? And what am I doing? And it's like I'm just following orders. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
He's like, I just run the play, you know. But there's such an asset in veterans that have a long history of doing this in the military, because if you have a well structured program, a sales program for them to step into, they can go out and execute no problem,
Mhm.
because it's not emotional for them. And so
No.
much of sales, like natural born salespeople, are emotional. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So continue.
No, I think it's a good point. I think the one thing the military teaches you above everything that helps you crush it in like a sales environment is a lot of sales is kind of repetitive and it gets pretty boring and almost
Yeah.
mind numbing to a point where you have to, you have to have a follow up cadence. You have to have a process. Every time you go into a home to try to make every sale the same. You have to continue to reach out to people. You have to do all these things that get kind of monotonous. Or, for my example, you have to drive sometimes really far, and to get
Yeah.
the best opportunity, sometimes you have to drive 3 hours. Sometimes it's 1 hour. Sometimes it's 45 minutes. And I think, especially when you're in the Navy or any military branch, I can only speak for the Navy. You do a lot of dumb shit that is, I mean, that you're just like, I hate this, but you have to do it because you're in
Yeah.
the Navy. Yeah, there's nothing else. You have to get it done. So I think when you can make a ton of money and all you have to do is stop like some mind numbing work, that's fine. And then the
Yeah.
high that you get from closing deals really outweighs that. And what most people don't do, if you look at like the success, the arc of success, most people, they stop right here trying to get up because
Mhm.
they hit this like this barrier of like, oh, I need to try to get here, but there's all this hard work. And one thing that I learned is if you front load your work, like if you work just balls to the wall, like 18-hour days for 3 months, and this is actually in the book, but if you work as hard as you can for 3 months, you'll build up so much social currency, you will blow past everybody else, and then
Yep.
you don't have to work that hard for the rest of the time there. You know what I mean? And a lot of
Mhm.
people just don't. They put in a little bit of work, and so they're always stuck. But if you can just put in like the first 3 months, just do an insane amount of work, then the rest of the year is easy. You'll get promoted. You'll get put into management, which will
Yeah.
make you get overrides. And yeah, that was kind of my journey. And then from that, I got headhunted to do the solar thing. But that's how I got into solar from that.
Yeah, so, like, you put in that 90 days of just intense work, and you compress the learning curve too, it sounds like.
Right.
Normally, what would have taken somebody that was working a 8-hour day, twice as much time to learn, you learned in half the time. So, you
Yeah.
compress the learning curve there big time. No, that's
Yeah.
massive. So you mentioned your book, and I
Yeah.
love the title, and I wanna hear more about it. Bushido is the title of your new book.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically, the ancient code for modern success is the subheadline to that. And
Yeah.
I think, like I was talking to you before we started the podcast, one of the things that was hard for me getting out of the Navy is when I went to the sales, just people and working in the civilian sector had no, I guess, no code to live by. I'm not saying you have to be like a Buddhist or like a monk or anything, but like people
Mhm.
just had no structure to their life. They had no North Star on how they lived their lives. And so I knew after the success at water and then after the success I had building the solar company, I was like, okay, there's something that I'm doing, because people started coming to me and asking me like, well, Justin, like, how are you getting these numbers? How are you doing these things? And I was like, well, I don't know. I just live my life a certain way. And I wanted to write a book about it, just not even to get popular. I feel like it's one of the few ways you can really leave an impact after you're gone is through
Yep.
books. Like if you write a really good book, it can impact a lot of people for a long time. And so I was like, well, I want to at least try to do that. But I didn't know what to write about. I didn't know how to also write about my, I guess not how I live, but like my values and what's made me successful from the military in a way that didn't sound self-indulgent or
Right,
braggadocious.
right, yeah.
And I've always loved Japanese culture. I've always been obsessed with the samurai in particular, because if you look at history and you look at just like the most disciplined, like the individuals that just like you look at like these people just took it to the extreme. It was a samurai. Like they were about family, country, and perfection. Like they would spend hours on one singular task and just become the best at that singular task. And to me, I've always admired that. It's something that I every day, that's kind of how I want to be. And it's
Mhm.
definitely not where I'm at yet, but I want to have that kind of drive. And so I was looking up the code of Bushido, and a lot of the principles in that code relate to kind of what I wanted to talk about. So I initially was using it as like a template to write the book, but then I was like, oh, this mirrors too well. So basically, what I did is I took the 8 tenets of Bushido and modernized it for business leaders and salespeople to use
Yeah.
every single day. That's it. That's the book.
That's
And
awesome, man. You
yeah,
know,
and
you
I pull from some experiences, like real life experiences, and I try to
Yeah.
make it. And I'm so, and to be fair, I was done with the book last year, but after reading Alex Hormozy's books and listening to him talk about his book writing process, I've actually gone back and I pulled it from publishing because I'm like, wait a minute, I can probably make this better.
Yeah.
So it's still a work in progress technically now. Just trying to refine it and make it the best for the audience.
One of the things you said was that the samurai work diligently on a singular task until it's completely mastered, and they're one of the best in the world at it, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of struck a chord with me because I was listening to the Huberman Labs podcast this morning, and David Goggins was on,
Nice.
and he's talking about like how basically how dumb he is, how ill-equipped he is to do what he does, but because of his samurai like, and he didn't say samurai, I'm saying that now, his
Yeah.
samurai like diligence in learning how to accomplish these tasks. So he was talking about he's studying right now as a paramedic. So he's basically, studying 3 to 4 hours a day about the human body and about
David Goggins is?
drugs. Yes. And so
What a
he's
crazy
he's
man.
working as a paramedic right now in Canada. And it's like, you're David Goggins. Why do you have a job? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But it's this man is wild. I mean, this is
Yeah.
only the second podcast he's done this year. So it
Yeah.
kind of you can kind of reverse engineer how he actually has a lot of time because he's very selective about, the public stuff he does. But he was saying because of the way his brain learns, he has to literally photographically memorize pages of these medical journals that he's reading.
Mhm.
And so he will spend an entire day on one page. He'll spend 2 hours on learning how to pronounce a prescription drug. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think what you're saying is so lost among our Western civilization because we don't spend that much time on anything. You know what I'm saying?
No,
Like
you don't.
we learn the high level of something. We
Mhm.
literally have softwares called Go High Level for that reason. We learn the high
Yeah.
level of something, and then we're like the experts in it all of a sudden. You know, which is dangerous in itself. The only thing I call myself an expert in is building sales teams because I did it for 13 years.
Right.
But
Yeah.
so many other people call themselves experts in all these other things, and they haven't even spent 4 hours on them like Goggins would on that single page of that medical journal?
1,000%. No, you're spot on. I think, especially with social media, everyone is trying to just become like that millionaire in 90 days.
Mhm.
That's just, and sure, maybe you can become a millionaire in 90 days, but is that really the goal? I mean, okay, you make your million, then what?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
100%.
I think the biggest thing is I don't think he said, "Well, David Goggins, why are you still working?" I think that that's also the misconception is it's not about
Yeah.
how soon can you stop working. It's how soon can you put yourself into positions where you can love the work you do. And I think that's the ultimate hack because I know for me, I never want to stop working. I just want to level up what I'm doing. I mean, I went from, the military to getting into sales, from sales into management. For
Mhm.
management, I got headhunted to help build a startup, which gave me insight on how to run a business. So from there, when I scaled this guy's business, I was like, holy shit, I made him a ton of money.
Yeah.
I should probably do it myself. So now, I think in life, as long as you're growing and you're putting yourself in better positions to succeed and challenging yourself, like you're gonna go much further. But to your point, you have to focus on that one thing. Like you can't be scatterbrained. Like, oh, I'm gonna do all these different things. Like I'm gonna do drop shipping. I'm gonna do like in sales. You've probably seen it. I
Yeah.
see it so much with like sales guys. Like, oh, I'm gonna go do solar because there's so much money in solar. Oh, there's no money in solar anymore. I'm gonna go do water treatment. Oh, I'm gonna go do. I'm not. Water's hard. I'm gonna go do roofing. Oh man, my guys. You know what? Sales sucks. The real estate game is where it's at. I'm gonna go do real
Yeah.
estate. And it's like all these industries. Like,
Cryptocurrency.
right. I'm gonna be a day trader now.
Yeah.
OnlyFans. Yeah, I'm not that cute, but let me give it a shot. it's
You never know. Oh,
it's
man.
crazy, but like you can make money anywhere. It just if you just gotta get really, 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 really good at it. And as long as you look at the industry you're in, and it's a big industry, then that means you can grow in it. I think water's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Mhm.
Uh, solar's obviously huge. I mean, think about there's guys in roofing make $1 million a year. There's
Yeah.
guys in solar that makes $1 million a year, and there's people in the same industries that make 30, 40 grand a year. So I think you just have to find a project you actually care about and that you can sell for a long time, and you'll be good.
I
You'll
couldn't
be
agree
fine.
more. So, one of the questions I was asking originally was why the jump. Obviously, water treatment to solar, I can kind of understand that already. It's like, hey, there's
Yeah,
another opportunity, more commission. This is a brand new industry. Want to get
yeah,
in early, right? But the
yeah,
jump back to water treatment, obviously, ownership was a big part of that. But were
mhm.
there any other factors in there?
Yeah, I don't really believe in solar that much. to be honest.
Really? Okay.
I don't believe in solar that much. So the only reason I did it, it wasn't even for the jump. I loved water. I had it in my house. I thought it was the best thing ever, but I was crushing it and I wanted to go further than the company was basically allowing me to. So a family friend of mine was helping build up a startup and he had
Mhm.
been in solar for a long time. So he's like, "Hey man, sales, like, sorry, my phone's going off." Um, he's like, "Hey man, you've been crushing it in sales up in water. How would you like to maybe try solar?" And I was like, "Hey man, I can sell anything. Let's do it." But I was like, "Listen, I'm not coming over to be a sales guy. I was like, I want to build an office." So the
Yeah.
agreement was I would help build an office. And then that turned into more. But throughout having solar, I had it on my house. I saw how the sales cycle worked. I also saw how and maybe again, maybe it's just the way my organization was ran.
Yeah.
It wasn't ran the best. A lot of customers got screwed over. I saw how a lot of sales got pushed when really, they're getting 67% offset in their home, and it's not that great of an investment. And then
Right.
I don't know. It just I wasn't, and even the product itself, like it makes sense. Okay, you have a bill swap, and if you're in the home for a long time, sure, get solar, and
Yeah.
you get the tax credit, which is nice. With interest rates now, it's a little bit tougher to sell, obviously, but it's still I think has long term benefits. But when I talk about like being passionate about a product, I never woke up like, oh man, I love solar. I can't
Yeah.
wait to like the commission checks were great, but I just didn't. I mean, I had it on my house. It made it harder for my house to sell, and it just didn't I didn't have like a lot of raving fans either. When I sold these products, I never had clients messaging me like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much for giving me a lower bill." But
Yeah.
with water treatment, I had a lady call me crying one time because her daughter had psoriasis, like the worst I've ever seen. They were spending thousands on medical treatments, and within
Mhm.
3 months, the system I sold her completely got rid of it. And that felt good outside of just making
Yeah.
money. And so when I went to start a business, I was like, I got to do something that I can do for a long time, that I'm passionate about, that has good margins, that I can scale, and that I just know I actually enjoy doing. I didn't want to chase the money. 'Cause I knew solar, yeah, and it could be, the sales ticket is higher, but the
Yeah.
margins are also a lot worse. And
Yeah.
the whole thing around that. And I just knew water is a growing industry. It's going to be there for a long time. I think even looking long term, you look at the kids these days, they're becoming more health conscious. So as they become homeowners, they're going to be more likely to want to buy water treatment. The
Mhm.
industry is old in the fact that the only big players that make any good content is Culligan, and their systems
Yeah.
suck. Their business model's outdated, and no one's trying to brand themselves in water treatment. I
Yeah.
am. So I know in the next 5 years or 10 years, maybe, if I brand myself as the water guy and my company is like the cool kid, like Black Rifle Coffee Company, that's, I
Right.
guess,
Hell
that's
yeah.
kind of how I'm trying to go after. Like, if I can be the
Yeah.
Black Rifle version in water treatment, then when all these kids become homeowners, they're going to grow up with me being, oh, I want him. That's the cool water
Yeah.
company. That's the
Yeah.
one that, and I'll be
Veteran
able to
owned.
veteran
100%.
owned, is service disabled. I'm 100% disabled through the VA. So that opens me up for
Mhm.
government, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think it'll resonate a lot more. And with that, I have my own branded tanks coming out in January, or it's January now. So by the end of the month, I'll have my own branded tanks coming out, which means I won't be commoditized anymore. So you can't like look up my products online and say, oh, there's a price discrepancy here. I can charge a premium for the
Yeah.
brand, and which with the same cost, with the same cost of materials, I can quadruple the amount I sell it for, and
Mhm.
because I'll have a brand, and
Yeah.
I'll be able to, and because I'm offering more, the customer experience will be better. I can offer more giveaways. I can give more like swag
Yeah.
out. Like I can really get people bought in, and I think
And
that's a
invest
long
more in
term play.
marketing. Yeah. No,
Right.
it's massive.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the goal. That's the 10-year, 5-10 year goal. And
Yeah.
then eventually I'd like to exit from that and do more like sales coaching, consulting. And then really I would love to just have a brand that I could, you know, just have as like
Personal brand.
my personal brand. Yeah, that I
Yeah.
could just have. Because I have a lot of other things I'm really interested in that I'd love to like get out there.
Mhm.
And I would love the opportunity to, speak to people, help build other companies, help other people be successful. Because I saw that on the micro scale, building sales teams, and it's really
Mhm.
cool to watch people go from making like no money to then having life changing months, and you have an impact on that is really cool. So and I'd like to be able to do that at a scale to where I'm not overcharging, so I still am
Yeah.
making money. So,
Yeah.
that's the end goal. I'd like to kind of get to that point.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm gonna unpack some of this stuff here. But the first thing I'll say is, whenever you start investing heavily into the consulting side, let me know.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of abundance mindset,
Yeah,
and Mike Bauer in our group, he's getting into consulting now. I'm
that's awesome.
literally building a CRM for him because I'm just snapshotting the one that I have. So like
Nice.
we're running some plays together and stuff like that. He's involved in my group, and we're constantly supporting each other.
What
And
what
as a
CRM are
team,
you using?
I'm using Go High Level.
Go high
Yeah,
level.
the
Okay.
easier the better. I know there's
Yeah.
better CRMs out there. I understand that. I don't
No,
want to
but
get into a CRM debate, but
no, I'm just
uh,
curious. I don't think
yeah, yeah, for
I'm
sure.
in the same vein. I don't think it matters. I think as long as it works,
Yeah,
you're
if you're
good.
executing right.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, I'd love to be involved and support you there 100%. So going back to solar, so
Yeah.
many of the things you said are so true. And what I realized about solar as a product, and this was after I exited the solar game, just like yourself,
Mhm.
um, because I exited for a very different reason. Me and my partner did not agree on how much we should be paying our salesmen. I wanted to pay them less. I wanted to invest more in the EPC. And as we
Mhm.
see now, a lot of EPCs are going bankrupt. A lot of EPCs are going
Mhm.
out of business,
Yep.
and it's because the sales orgs were charging too much for customer
Right.
acquisition. The
Right.
bottom line, they had all the power the EPCs thought they did, you know.
Yeah.
And now, there's just right and left EPCs going down this year. It's been a tough year for solar in general, but
Oh
people are
yeah.
realizing like, hey, I have to be a business owner, not just a sales leader. And so
Yes.
now I'm going to have to invest in my EPC. I'm going to have to invest in my relationship with them, or I'm going to have to
Mhm.
start my own and have, a couple hundred grand in capital in order to get that off the ground, as well
Right.
as credit and all the other things. Welcome to business ownership. So,
Yeah. Well, or it was solar with, after all those after Pink Energy went down and all these other
yeah,
companies went down, M1 funding goes away, then M2 funding goes away. So now you sell a solar. If you don't have a good installer, you're
yeah,
3 months paying commissions and everything else. You don't even see anything come back.
yeah. Yeah.
It's
So
crazy.
you gotta be diligent, you gotta be prudent on that. But to from the customer standpoint, what you're saying is very true across the board. And I
Mhm.
think solar is only good when the customer is a prudent investor
Right.
and they are okay with making, on their investments, they're okay with making 8% a year. They don't need the
Right.
20%, the 30% home run. Typically, that same buyer profile is going to be the same as the one that's going to buy solar. He's got
Right.
forever homes. Maybe he's even making money off the energy in the homes.
Right.
And this is somebody that needs that tax break.
Mhm.
And so I agree with you that in that aspect. I'm not of the mindset that solar is for everybody because
Mhm.
everybody doesn't have the financial discipline to actually execute on solar.
Yeah.
And then yeah, the real estate industry is so far behind on transitioning the panels from one owner to the other. It is a
Yeah.
pain in the ass. But here's the problem is our sales orgs are not selling it that way. They're selling it like
Yeah.
it's for everybody, like it's a product from Walmart, like it's a jug of milk or something that everybody should have, and why don't you have it? It
Mhm.
just and that's the way it's being represented. And I again, same thing. When I looked back, I was like, it really isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
And it was hard for me to see that when I was selling it, because you see dollar signs and everything else, right? But it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long to
Mhm.
realize, hey, this business isn't for me, for one, and then the product isn't necessarily for everybody. Um, that being said, I have clients that are in solar, you know what I'm saying? So
Oh, yeah.
I I they know how I feel about it, you know what I mean? And I make sure that when I build out their sales programs that that filtering process is in there, that
Yeah.
they understand the tax implications, they understand that this is a long-term or ROI, and then more importantly, they sell it so that they can get an ROI in the first month. They can save 20
Mhm.
bucks on their electric bill in the first month. You can do
Mhm.
that, then
Yeah.
you're in great shape, but you gotta have the roof space, you gotta have the energy efficiency behind that.
Yeah.
And so there's so
I
much more than just the panels on the roof.
And also, like, I mean, you have to know what your pain threshold is for sales. I think for
Mhm.
me, I like to sell something where it's not super market dependent. And I guess this comes from my day trading background. I like to
Yeah,
if the market's involved, I'm a little bit more scared of it. And with solar especially, it's so heavily dependent on interest rates
yeah,
because back when I was selling solar, I think I got in at the golden era. So the amount of money I made there, I don't think I should even talk about, because I was selling at a 0.99% APR. Like at
Yeah.
that point,
Yeah.
everyone should have solar. Like that's
Yeah.
literally that's free money.
Yeah.
But now I've been out of the
6,
game for
7,
a bit.
8. It's not
Seven, eight
making
percent.
sense
It's
anymore. Yeah.
no, like it actually makes more sense to stick with your energy
Well, and
provider
then
in the short
the
term.
dealer fees, like we're gonna go down a rabbit hole. Let's
Yeah.
talk about you.
Yeah.
The dealer
Hey.
fees just out of control, man.
Oh,
Okay,
I
so
know.
if where should we look for your book that's coming out? Because I'm kind of excited about that. I want to read that when it comes out.
Yeah, I mean, so when it finally
What's
does
the
come
timeline?
out, yeah, I don't. You know what? I was gonna say by March it would be coming out, but again,
Okay.
I'm of the mindset that I would rather just keep pushing it out until it is the best it could possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going through it right now for, I think it's gonna be my fourth draft of it, and then I'll send it out
Mm-hmm.
to my editor one last time to maybe push it out.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be everywhere. I'll put it on Amazon for as cheap as Amazon will let me sell it for. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
gonna try and get it out there. I'll have it. I'm gonna record. I'm gonna read the book myself, so I'll put it on my podcast on Spotify. I'll put it on Audible. Um,
Nice.
I'll have some physical copies that'll be on the website,
Mm-hmm.
on the Syndicate website. So it'll be out there. It just, yeah, I want to make it the best. I want to write it one time, and I want to have an impact. So
Mm-hmm. Do
I
you plan
and
on writing more books after that?
I do, yeah, of course.
Okay, well, I would
It's a lot of
say
fun.
if you plan on writing more books after this, this isn't your one and done. You know what I
No.
mean? I would say that every day that you don't put this book out, there's at least 1 or 2 people that aren't being impacted by it. You know what I'm saying? And so just kind of do
Yeah.
that math over time, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think the delta changes though. If I write a terrible book or an okay book, then those 2 or 5 people that would get impacted, I think they'll be impacted no matter what. I think there's not a surplus of books out there. I want mine to stand out. And what I
Yeah.
would like is have those 2 to 5 people instead. Like if it's an okay book, they may read it and they may share it to a couple of people. I would like to have 10 people read it and they share it to 100 people and have it grow and get my
Mhm.
message out there more. And I think that's just going to take time. Um, but yeah, I'm hoping to have it out by mid of this year. Is
Mhm.
like my goal. But I don't know, when I listened to how Alex Ramosi did his offers and leads books
Mhm.
and how he wanted to put it out before it was done. And I don't know if you've read those books, but they've had a profound impact on me and just the way he approaches business. And so I was like, okay, I knew I was rushing. I mean, I put a goal to myself because I like having, constraints
Targets.
to
Yeah.
get the book out by December. So when I finished writing it, the first draft by October, and I had it to publishers and I got it published. Well, I had like an editor that got it to say, hey, we'll publish this. This looks good. But then once I took a month away from it, 2 months away from it, I went back to it. And I was like, wait a minute, I could make this way better. I could, make these stories a little bit more concise. I could add some more elements that will make this point sound better. I could
Mhm.
reorganize the way I have certain things written. So I'm going through my fourth re-edit right now. I think this will be the last one, and then I'll get it out there and to everybody else.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think if this episode is any indication that the way it is right now and the way it's going to be after you revise it a few more times is going to be fantastic. So I'm excited about it coming out, brother. Okay, so you're not just doing the book. That's not your only project that you've got going on right now.
No.
You're putting together a course as well.
Yeah.
And to start off, you told me it has 132 videos already in it.
Yeah, it's done. So it's in the editing phase right now. So that took me
Hmm.
a year and 6 months to do. So I started recording it. I started doing the first episodes towards the end of 2022-ish, and then went
Hmm.
really hard on 2023. And then me and my videographer, we just spent, we'd come in almost every couple days a week for about 12 months, and we just record content, shoot content. Um, so it was I had the outline of the course written out, and it took me about a year. And so now he's been editing it for the last month and a half. It should be done this month. So the plan is to start rolling it out this month. I'll put out a big portion of it out for free
Hmm.
for people to use to try to, if you're in sales and you're not making at least 10K a month, this will get you presumably to 10 to 20 is the goal of
Yeah.
the first half. Give that out for free. So if people make 10 to 20K a month, they can then invest in the full course.
Hmm.
And I'll also be putting a lot of it out for free on YouTube and Instagram and things like that to help people that don't have the resources to invest. I think where I'm going to get the value proposition on this course is I'm going to put a lot of it out for free. And on the sales side, I will offer more access to me directly is how I
Right.
have the pricing. So I'll have like the standard pricing of the course. Not quite sure where I'm going to price it out yet. I mean, it's a behemoth, so I do want to make sure I'm compensated for it, but we'll see.
Mhm.
I think people get more value if I could, sell it a higher ticket for having access to me and like my team. I think that's
Yeah.
going to be a little bit more practical. And like I said, I have a more long-term vision. I want to really grow my brand. So if I give enough of it out for free, I think the social currency I'll earn from that will help grow my brand a lot faster, which
Mhm.
realistically I would rather have that than the money. I
Yeah.
much more want to have an impact and more than I want to have the paycheck. So
That's a solid. It's not even a strategy. It's just an instinct, you know.
yeah.
And I started the same way when I joined Apex Executives. It was very much like, oh, hey, these guys need my help. Like I had the imposter syndrome. I was like, these
Yeah.
guys are all like net worth multimillionaires, right? And here I
Yep.
am with my little 7-figure business, you know,
Yeah.
and trying to like hang out with these guys or whatever. But then they're all coming to me asking me sales team questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How to recruit, how to train, how to onboard, to build them, how to structure them, all that good stuff. And I was like, man, these guys need something, right?
Right.
And so I put together the structure that I did for consulting and everything. And I just started like giving it to as many people as I could. And like you said, for 2 years, I did nothing but build social currency. You know,
Hmm.
did connection calls, did the podcast, did all that stuff. And
Hmm.
then when I decided I was done with my sales work and I went full time consulting, it was like, boom, everybody was on board and, got the best clients to start out with, amazing
Oh yeah.
clients. And it was because like you said, build that social currency. The intention of the course initially and the intention of the book initially is to make an impact.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not seeing dollar signs on the other side of it like so many of these, I guess, influencers do. They start with the end dollar signs in mind. From everything that I'm hearing that you're talking about, you started with the impact in mind and are
Yeah.
still, as you're building it and along the way and executing it, it's all about the impact. And it's amazing to hear someone investing so much in the book and the course, and so much time,
Hmm.
being so meticulous about it, and it doesn't. I mean, granted, there's an ascension that's going to happen, right? They're going to read the book
Hmm.
and they're going to want to work with you one on one,
I
and
hope
there's going to
so.
be a sale. Yeah, there's going to be
I
a sale. That's
I
yeah,
I
but
hope people want to work with me after, or they hopefully it
but
doesn't
you can
suck.
tell. You can tell like the most of your thoughts are going to the impact the actual content is going to have. You know,
Right.
and, as far as the 132 videos, you literally put every one of those out for free between YouTube, podcast,
Mhm.
blogs, whatever the case is. They're gonna
Mhm.
pay to put them all together, put
Right.
them in a nice organized structure. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so I
Exactly.
mean, all my stuff is out there for free, one way or
Right.
another. Actually, if you go through the labels on my episodes, you could put together my course essentially.
Nice.
You know,
That's
and
great.
so that's why like when I do put it out, I put it out with templates and some extras and
Mhm.
stuff. So, even if you were to put it together organically, you still want to get the course so you can have the templates and everything. But anyways, it's for impact, because I've
Yeah.
maybe sold 2 or 3 courses. I have not pushed it. I've been consulting, so I don't really push the course a whole lot. I don't place ads on it or anything. But I do
Yep.
when someone is like I meet another entrepreneur and they're just like they're in their early stages,
Mhm.
sure as hell I send them that link for free. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To help them out, you know?
Yeah, I feel like if you wanna make an impact, you gotta be impactful, and I think
Yeah.
and I'm guilty of this too, of wanting to skip the line a little bit. A lot of us will see someone that really inspires us in one way or another that we look up to, and
Mhm.
we wanna have that same impact that that person had on us, but the reality is that person did something that resonated with us, that made us want to follow them, and the truth is a lot of us haven't done shit to earn that level of influence and impact. So,
That's
doing
real.
the way I look at it is this course and the book are my first steps into showing why I hope to earn the goodwill of people to actually listen to me. Because there's a lot of sales guys that make a lot of money. I've done that. There's a lot of people that have been in the military. So how do you provide more value to people and more because of all the information that's out there? I think the game has changed, and the ones that'll go the furthest are the ones that'll give the most. and not only give the most, but give the most of actual good value that is actionable, that helps people get results. And if you can do that, you'll never need anything ever again. From, just for people want for you to come speak would be
Mhm.
enough. I mean, I was I went to the Andy Elliott conference with
Him and Stewman?
yeah, with him and Stewman. And Stewman
Yeah.
said he was one of the first guys to bring out David Goggins to talk. I think he said he paid him like 100 or 200 grand, which
Yeah.
goes to show. I mean, David Goggins was obviously a social media influencer. I'm sure when he started, he didn't think some guy named Ryan Stewman was going to pay him 200 grand to speak to his team.
Yeah.
But that's where you can get to. And one of my heroes in business is definitely like Alex Hormozy and Gary Vaynerchuk. Those are the two people I grew up with, Gary Vaynerchuk in the military when I was doing music. Like I followed him for like social media content.
Yep.
And then how Alex has done business. I think he's a good example of like he made his money in business.
Yeah.
So obviously he doesn't need to make money on anything else. So you're gonna want to listen to him. And I want to have that same impact of like, okay, I built these businesses. Not to that scale, obviously, but I've grown some sales teams like crazy. Like I'm sure you said you
Mhm.
have as well.
Mhm.
I want to put out the content that you can use, because then you're like, oh, this works. So then when I actually go for a bigger ask, or if I have a huge influence or a huge network, like
Yep.
I always loved to be an entertainer. I mean, I made music for 12 years. That's something I want to get back into. Played music festivals in Ibiza. It's actually how I met my wife, funny enough. And I think part of that is I really want to be able to train people at mass scale. I think it's fun, but that entertainment value of being able to be in front of a large amount of people and train them and get people excited and energized, that fuels me. So I'm like, how do I get to there? Well, I got to provide enough value for people to want to have me out there and listen to me. So, but I don't
No,
think
I couldn't agree more.
long-winded answers. I think too many people will skip the you actually have to do shit step.
That's real, man. That's real.
Yeah.
That's definitely a clip for the reels that we put out later too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
all right. So, we've gotten into a lot of the process of what you're building,
Sure.
and maybe as part of that, content that you're going to put out there for everybody to kind of grab, what do you feel like salespeople that aren't at 10K right now, what are they
Mhm.
missing in their arsenal? Why aren't they able to break that monthly mark?
They're probably just not working, to be honest.
Mhm.
It can be two things. I think number one, they're probably not doing enough volume. And I'll speak specifically on a door-to-door style business,
Mhm.
or even a cold call, doesn't matter. I honestly think if you were to do door-to-door or cold calling, if you knocked 100,000 doors and you sucked at everything else, but you knock 100,000 doors, if you get 3% of those to sit down and close, that'd be 300 deals. Okay. 300 deals on a solar commission is at least probably 200K a year, at least. I know for
Mhm.
water, 300 deals is about 300 grand, or no, it's more than that. Probably
Mhm.
400, 500 grand, 300 deals in a year for one sales rep, right? So
Yeah.
if you do 100,000 door knocks, you're going to make a ton of money. So just do the door knocks is like the simplest thing. And then outside that, obviously there's the skill component. So if you knock 100 doors, if you suck, you might only get 10 to buy. But if you knock 100 doors every single day, you're going to get better, and then naturally you're going to convert more. So the first thing is just being able to do the volume. Like if you can have an ultimate skill, but like going through trainings and me teaching you, it doesn't really matter if you can't do the volume first. So my
Right.
biggest thing is learn how to do the boring work that no one wants to do. Do the volume.
Yeah.
Make it so like the volume that you're doing is like find whatever the top guy is doing and double and triple his volume. Just figure out a way to
Yep.
do it. I have a 90-day sales guide that I'll give anybody out for free. It's the guide that I give my team for them to make 40 to 50K a month within 90 days. It's a very simple guide. It's watch these YouTube videos and go knock 100 doors. And then it scales up to like 2,000 doors. It gets crazy.
Yeah.
And when you get to the very end, I have a thing called Hell Week, which I stole from Buds, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's the Hell Week where it's like you have to knock 2,000 doors sit like I think it's like 100 a point. It's something insane. Like literally you have to work like 19 hours every single day for 7 days if you actually want to hit the metrics.
Yeah.
And I'll go out with the guy and record it. We'll have fun with it. And it's funny because whenever someone sees that, like, this is impossible, I'm like, well, let's go do it. And the reality is, it kind of is an impossible task, which is what it's designed to be. Like, no one's actually designed to hit it. But what is funny is the people that actually commit to try to hit those metrics, it pushes them so far past their comfort zone to what they thought was possible. They'll get to like 1,000 some doors a lot of times. And then when they go back to their normal rhythms after the 90 days, first off, that 1 week they made more money than they ever had before. But then when they go back to their regular rhythm, 100 doors isn't the standard anymore. It's like 400, 300 a day. Like their standard changes. But just through that process, you're going to get so much better because, when I first got into sales, I didn't go to any courses. I just watched YouTube videos. I didn't have a trainer. So I got better by doing. And I think a lot of people want like that secret hack of like, oh, if I go to this seminar, I'll learn how to close more deals or whatever. But the truth is, the person training you, all they did is they watched the same material you have, but they did it 1,000 times more than you. And and I truly believe this, I might be wrong, but I believe sales trainers, motivational speakers, the only thing I believe they have is a way to dilute the information that they've learned down into a way that's digestible, that can help you speed up your process.
100%.
But that process doesn't even start unless you do volume. So that's it. If you're not making 10K a month, if I looked at your calendar, I would bet my life you're just not doing the volume. Now, if you're like the rare exception and you are doing 1,000 doors a week and let's say you're in solar or any industry, you're doing 1,000 doors a week, 1,000 cold calls a week, and you're not progressing, well, then we need to have a really hard look at what are your communication skills, how do you handle objections, and like get into the actual nitty gritty techniques of it, try to build you up around that. And then at that point, you should dramatically improve. If you just can't figure out core communication skills and you're doing the volume, then that's also where you might need to have a tough conversation of maybe this just isn't the industry for you if you can't learn the communication skills.
I think that's like less than 1% that is actually doing the work.
100%.
It is so small. It's barely worth talking about.
Yeah,
because
I mean, you've seen it, right? You've
you give them that 1%. They're like, oh, I'm the 1%. Yeah, I'm that.
Yeah.
No, you just didn't work. And my guys would get so frustrated. My managers, sometimes even my regionals, would come to me with these sob stories and stuff, and I would look them straight in the face and say, "He's not working. How do you know? You're not out there with like they would always ask me these questions. How do you know you're not out there? How do you know?" And I said, "Well, look at the app, look at the sales rabbit, look at the turf sheet, look at the the appointment set. At some point, that some metric along the way is going to tell you that they're full of shit, that they're not working a full day."
Well, because here's the thing, like dude, when I did solar, I'll use it because that's like the main industry I did door to door in. I wasn't smarter than anybody else. Like I didn't have any crazy skill. And same thing, that organization didn't have any crazy training program. I just was like, I got to figure this out. And so I just knocked a stupid amount of doors. Like I would get up at 9 a.m. I wouldn't be off the doors till 10 p.m. I mean, I was doing stupid hours. And so, but I got to the point where even though I had terrible skill, because I put in the hours, I would get at least 2 or 3 appointments a day. At least. It didn't matter because it's just a numbers game. There's gonna be someone that wants to hear from you. And then eventually I got to the point where I could do that same number of appointments in an hour. So I improved in the skill, and that's what happens. But like when you're as a manager and a leader, and this is why, again, clip this, as a manager and a leader, if you are going to lead the team, you have to lead and be the example past what anyone else in that organization will do, because you actually have to know where the limit is to push your team to, but you can't know what that is if you haven't done it yourself. And that's what I think pisses me off the most about any organization is you have leaders and managers that just want to get in that position so they don't have to do the shitty work anymore. Like they don't have to knock the door. Like now, if you're in solar and you're a leader, you should know that in your head, you need to knock more than everybody else. And obviously you'll get to a point where you don't have the time to do that, but I would always make it when I was the sales director, I made it a point that at least once a month out of the year, I would just go out there to show everyone else that I could still smoke them. Because sometimes they're going to look at you and be like, I don't know about this guy. You need to show them why you're where you are. And in sales, I love sales because like the military, it is a competitive, like you get some pretty
Yeah.
crazy A-type personalities. You got to be able to
Yeah.
show them like, no, I'm the guy. Like,
I'm
let me
still
put
that motherfucker.
yeah, exactly. Set that
Yeah.
standard. And that'll also, and if you don't do that, then you can't do what you just said. You can't say he's not working. And a lot of times, if that manager's like, how do you know he's not working? I'm like, well, actually, you should know this. I got a feeling you probably haven't worked that hard to not know why he's not working. Because
Exactly.
if you've put in the time, you know, because they're not putting in
Yeah.
the hours. You know what those hours have. And yeah, that's my biggest pet peeve. And sales, like in my organization, like I don't let anyone be a manager if they're not a top producer, and you can lose the spot. Like I let everybody know, like I only want 1%ers leading my teams, and I own my company. I still go out and door knock, and like at the end of the month, I notice, and I am getting myself out of the sales cycle because you have to do that to scale.
Yeah.
But I'm super competitive, and at the end of the month this year, I noticed that I was one of my reps was tied with me on sales, even though I'm not running that many appointments. I was like,
Yeah.
I can't let this guy think he's top dog. So I called all of my old leads, and I got a deal closed on the 31st, just so I could be on the top.
Oh shit! He
just
must
so I
have
could.
been pissed.
Nah, he's good. He's one of my top guys. So I just wanted to.
I
I
love
said
it.
to say, hey man, I'm still out here. Don't think because
Hey,
I'm not on the field.
I
I'll bring
closed a
it.
deal on New Year's Eve too. You know what I mean? Like
I
it's
love it,
just
man.
got that dog in you.
I
Man,
love it.
I wanna pull a few things from that. You know, the first
Yeah.
thing is 100% what you said. How are you going to know the limit if you haven't pushed it yourself? You know, how are you going to know what they're capable of? The second thing is just real quick outline this challenge for us. Real quick
Yeah.
outline that challenge because I feel or is there somewhere we can go to like see the
I don't
challenge?
I don't
This
have it
may be
public,
the new
but
75 hard of the door-to-door industry.
yeah. Well, how about this? How about I mean, you have the podcast. I can send it to you. You can link it.
Okay.
So if you want to download it, they can download it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's basically the first week it goes over you know, the stuff to watch like sales training videos on YouTube. So it's all
Mhm.
free source stuff. And then it
I just
has,
mean the
you know,
numbers. The numbers. It was
so
like 2,000 doors in a week,
yeah, well, it scales. So
like
the first week's
260 doors
like
a day.
the first day, I think the first week's like 100 doors, and then it's like two, and
Okay.
then I think it goes up to 200 doors, then 300, then 400, then 500.
Wow.
It increments up each week, and then there's books you need to read. So there's each week. You have 2 weeks to read a book. So each 2 week block has
Okay.
a book you need to read. The
How
very
long is the
first
total challenge?
90 days.
Okay, fantastic. All
It's
right. Yeah,
it's
shoot it
90
to me.
days.
We'll link it in the show notes.
Yeah,
And this is something that I have a client coming up in February that and I'd have to condense this for that client, but I'm literally going to go out and be the first person knocking doors for that client. And
yeah,
so I would love to do something like this, like compress it into a week or something like that to where I can like
yeah.
just taste it a little bit
Well, what I'll do
to
too is
yeah.
I'll create a master. So I do all my business, like my digital office is my Discord.
Mhm.
So what I'll do, I will get all the hyperlinks for all the YouTube videos too, so you can have that on
Yeah.
there because
Yeah, that's gonna be dude, that's it's not even a lost leader, it's just another piece of impact, you know?
yeah,
If you put together that challenge and make it really digestible, like you said,
yeah,
for everybody to execute on, I mean, that's gonna be huge. And
yeah,
then
no,
the last thing I'll say, which I think is the most important thing that you said out of it all, you haven't gotten past 10K, it's probably the work you're not putting in. And so you shouldn't even go to the conference. You shouldn't even hire the sales trainer or the coach or the course or whatever the case is until you start putting in the numbers in order to justify even that you maybe have a learning curve
yeah,
to bridge. You know what I mean? Because you
yeah,
haven't even seen what you're capable of from the reps yet, you know?
yep,
And
yeah.
so it's the
I
reps.
yeah. Alex Ramosi has this really good thing he talks about in one of his videos where he's like, everyone looks at. He was talking about the like daily habits of successful people. And it's like everyone
Mhm.
looks at these millionaires and billionaires and is like, oh, what do they do per
I
day?
wake up at
But what
4 a.m., cold plunge and
right,
everything
but
else,
what
right?
right, but what they do now isn't what they did when they were growing the business. And I think
Exactly.
that's the same thing in sales is you don't need to go watch Andy Elliott or Grant Cardone or anybody until you've just been in your organization. Just put in the labor first. And
Mhm.
once you're making 10K a month, then that's where I think it's like, okay, now I've got at least the core foundational skill of I
Yeah.
need to to work out, or I have like the core meta skill. Now let me build upon that, and then take that 10K and give yourself a self-investment budget out of that 10K. So say if you make 10K a month, okay, let's say 30% of that goes to self-investment training. Now you can actually afford to go to the conference, and because you have at least a base level skill, you can then actually take something from that conference and utilize it quickly and actually make money from it.
And if you can't, like you said, afford that, the first thing you need to be able to afford is the LLC. You know what I'm saying? Because you're
Right.
probably 29. And so, like, before you go
Yeah.
and travel and make that trip, open up your LLC so you can at least get the tax benefits. And then now you're getting 10%, maybe more in tax benefits. So you can afford the conference. But again, you're already making 120K a year at that point. Now you can
Yeah.
justify. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And it'll give you, you'll feel, man, I can't say that first 12 grand. And I made 12 grand a week. That's still to this day one of the most amounts of money where I was like, because at that point I had never seen that kind of dollar amount in my life. So that was
Yeah.
like the first, like, whoa, this is a way to change your life. And I think anybody who needs money should just join sales. It's the only industry in the world that has an equal playing field where you don't need to be the smartest in the room. You don't need to have a college degree. You just have to work hard. And sales does not care. Like, it's not racist. It's not sexist. Doesn't care if you're a guy, if you're a girl. If you're the best and you work hard, or even if you're not the best, if you just work hard, you will get paid back. And so, yeah, I love it. I never thought I'd be the sales guy, but
Yeah.
it changed my life, man. I mean, yeah, I
Here's
would
a
not,
here's a
yeah.
caveat I'll say to that too, because or not even a caveat, but just additional advice. Make it in-person sales. If it's
Mhm.
in-person sales, you are automatically now 5%, a 5
Yeah.
percenter. Because and it's gonna be so much easier for you to close because look, if you suck at sales in the beginning, what's gonna help you is being in person and them having to tell you no to your face or to give you the
Mhm.
time of day. It's so
Mhm.
easy not to give you the time of day when you're telemarketing, when you're doing social media, when you're doing B2B sales, whatever the case is. If you
Mhm.
want those quick wins, go, a product like water, a product
Mhm.
like, community solar versus rooftop solar, these lower ticket products that you can go out and get some wins and get
Mhm.
that money that you're talking about that you need. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden you're rolling. And then you can elevate into those higher ticket products and stuff like that if you want to. But like
Yeah.
Justin just showed you guys, sometimes the medium ticket is perfect, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I was making within 2 months, I was making 35, 45K a month in water. I went over to solar. I didn't make anything in solar for, like, months because I had to learn it.
Yeah.
And then I started making, like, 60, 70K a month in solar.
Yeah.
But even then, I look back and
Stressful ass sales cycle. It is a
oh my gosh.
stressful sales cycle. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was looking at this, I was like, honestly, if I just stayed doing what I mean, I'm glad I did it because I gotta learn more of the business side because I
Mhm.
got promoted to the second guy in charge. So
Yeah.
I gotta actually run the business, which was invaluable. But from a strict money
Massive.
standpoint, if I just stick with water and grew my network, I could have made more because we have the top guy after I left. I mean, he was making like 60, 70K a month. So
Wow.
but
It's
but
fantastic.
and I was like, just from like referral business. So it doesn't really matter as long as the ticket is enough to give you like $1,000 commissions, you rock and roll. Like as long as you can get to $1,000 in commission, you can make life changing money. You just have to be passionate about the project.
Hell yeah. All right, last
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, go for
What
it.
what does legacy mean to you and what legacy do you want to leave behind?
What does legacy? That's a good question. Um, oh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
giving
I
you
was. Oh,
the stage.
oh, I thought it cut out. Um, Legacy. Yeah. So I don't I don't think legacy really matters as much as I used to. Um, I think eventually everyone's gonna forget about me anyway. So I think what I would like to do is to leave something that people can come back to and provide value for eternity. And I think the only way to do that is by leaving a book or a course or something tangible that is so good that it continues to be reused forever. I think that's the only really way to have a legacy. That's it. You look at Dale Carnegie How to Win Friends, like those kind of those core books that
Yeah.
will always be around, or like music that'll always be around forever.
Hmm.
That to me, it's legacy is leaving something that will make someone better forever. And anything outside of that is just it's just something that's nice to have, because um, eventually when I die or you die 200, 300, 400 years from now, no one's going to care about us
Hmm.
or anything that we
They
did
may
will be
not even care
forgotten.
about our book, even if it's good as How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? So,
Well, those things they might. I mean, that's the one thing.
yeah,
I think those things can live forever, and I think that's the end goal for me at least. Is I would like to at least leave something before I go because the money's going to go away. I want nice things. I'm very bougie. Like I want to have a car. I want to have the jet. I want the stuff. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong. I want the stuff, but as far as the legacy goes, I think just leave something that can be tangible.
I love it, brother, and it makes more
Yep.
sense now. The time you're putting into the course, time you're putting into the book. You're trying to write not the next, but your How to Win Friends and Influence People, basically. And I think
Yeah.
that's admirable. I think it's admirable. It's so easy to write a book now these days, put it out, get on the bestseller, and check that off your list. But I think it's more than that for you. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us.
No, man.
And also, yeah, thank you for coming on the show,
Yeah.
man. Ton of
No,
value, a great conversation too.
I hope so, man. I hope people enjoy it. Like I'm always trying to get better, and my
Hmm.
hope is to connect with you guys in person. I just want to be around people that help me get better, that I can help get better. I mean, the one thing that the military, I'll end it on this, and I hope this okay. Um, the one thing that the military has that you'll never find anywhere else is you're going to meet a brotherhood of people because you go through some sort of adversity. It doesn't have to be like life and death, but you go through some stuff and you're away from family and you build this this brotherhood and this connection that helps you achieve more because you have a network of people that you like to be around. And today you just don't have that. And I think if you really want to go as far as you want to go, you need to build a syndicate of people that you like to be around that are all trying to get better and push each other because that is where you'll find what I think most people are looking for, where they want to be truly happy. I think if you just have a syndicate of people that push you to be better every day and actually care for you, that
Hmm.
is the meaning of life in itself, which is why I made the syndicate. Is you
Hell
need to
yeah.
have people. And so if you don't have the people and you're listening to this podcast, I think you should reach out to myself or to Doug or join Apex or join uh, these sales groups. I can't think of any more.
Hmm.
Join Apex,
Yeah.
and just get around people. And if you're depressed and you're in a city where you don't have support or your family sucks or you just don't know what to do,
We'll pull you out of that shit.
get to one of these groups and just move. Like do the
Yeah.
thing that seems impossible. Just move. Like sale. Like if you ever been to the gym with like an IBF pro, like a guy that just looks roided out and it's huge,
Hmm.
if you ever train with them, they're the nicest, gracious people ever, and they will do
Amazing.
everything else to help you.
Yeah.
Sales is the same way. You get around top producers. If you just show you want to improve, dude, they'll
Mhm.
open the doors up to you. And I think
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what people need. Just
It's
find the people that
brothers
help
of
you.
pain, brothers of doing
Yeah.
something that nobody else does, you know what I'm saying? And
Uh-huh.
even when you like, as many people as are probably going to the gym right now because it's New Year's,
Mhm.
as many people as you see inside that gym, you're still the minority. You're still like
Yep.
10% of the population that even steps foot inside of a gym, you know? And
Yep.
so whenever you're going through that together, which business owners do, salespeople do,
Mm.
athletes do, it just creates this amazing bond, and I've seen that in Apex and other groups like it, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
I couldn't agree more there, brother.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
brother.
Well, we'll include your social media links in the show notes so everybody can
Sweet.
jump on and follow you if they're not following you already. Again, I appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, absolutely, Doug. Peace.
Let's get building.